what's good YouTube? Welcome to the channel, your girl Natasha Nisha. So on this one I'll be speaking about being used by God. And we know God uses people, but like how do you get to that place in life? So in this one I'll be unpacking some of that and 7 quick steps on how to be used by God if anyone's interested. So the first point I have here is that you need to be anointed and then used. And we find that in the story of David in 1 Samuel 16 and 13. We know that David was anointed there, and immediately after, the Bible tells us the Spirit of the Lord came upon David, so that's the first way that you can be used by God, but you need to be anointed first, is the first one. The second one I have here is that the scripture tells us that many are called and few are chosen. So we know that there needs to be a calling as well, and it's God who calls, but also chosen, and this is chosen by grace. It's just a free gift of God that we'll never earn. So even to be used of God, many times man will never truly feel worthy, is the second point, which couples up with the third point, and that is that it's God who chooses. It's God who chooses, and it's God who chooses to honor the vessel, the being, the human, because it's God alone who sees into the heart, and also God has sovereignty, and God has His plan and His will for each life, His plan that He's written out for each life. So it's Him that chooses and chooses to honor whom He will. Basically, the Lord chooses whom He will. Is the third point. So the fourth point in this regard is so from our side, what do we do to be chosen and used of God? I have here the only things that we can do basically is to be, number one, obedient to His word. So we need to obey. We need to obey His word and His will for our lives. We need to be holy. We need to be holy, and this is just from abstaining and staying away from certain practices which defile man. And then we need to be living out or walking out a blameless walk. We need to be righteous, yeah. So a lot of these things also, like being holy, being blameless, being righteous, we cannot do it on our own. And this is where being born again comes in, because once we're born again, and then it's no longer us who lives, but Christ who lives in us, and He can do the work. He can then make us holy and blameless and righteousness. The righteousness that we actually have is the righteousness of Christ, not our own. So there's that. And then also with the born again comes the baptism. Oh my goodness, where we being now baptized. And this is where we are washed. We made clean, we wash, because when you baptize, you're now immersed in water. And this is a way that we are sanctified, made holy and washed. Made holy, clean, washed, to be able to be then used of God. Because when God uses, He needs something clean. Is point number 4. So point number 5 also joining in with number 4, what can we do on our side? Basically, what else we can do is just to avail ourselves, make ourselves be available, be willing also, because when God calls, yes, it's Him, but then we also have to come to a place where we agree. We saying, yes, Lord, let your will be done in my life. And also, so we're saying yes, daughter, and it's also visible by our actions. So we're saying it and we're living it out, we're walking it out in our actions. And the Bible tells us that how can two walk together lest they agree? So we need to come to a place also in our life. Yes, He calls us, we avail ourselves, and then we also need to agree, like to work with God in this regard. That's number 5. Number 6 I have is that so basically to be used of God. Then at this stage, it's Him now who does all the work. It's Him who puts His light in us. It's Him who puts His Spirit in us. His Spirit comes upon us and does everything basically. Like we are just a vessel willing, and He does all the work. Is what number 6 is getting in on. And number 7 I have here is that truly it's an honor to be used of God, and there is a price to pay. And the Bible tells us, to whom much is given, much is also required. So it tells us also there again, it speaks of like responsibility. We have a responsibility, as well in this regard, when one is used. And then lastly, it's such a privilege to be used of God. So that's all in this one, like how a person can be used of God. 7 quick steps. And just rounding off, I just want to say that basically there's very little we do. It's God who calls, and God who even makes us righteous. He puts the light in us. We just need to avail ourselves and agree, and see it as an honor and a privilege. So that's all for this one. Quick, short, and sweet. Hope to see you in the next one. You're going to session, Nisha. Peace out.